Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was born on June 1, 1926, in the United States. Her real name was Norma Jean Mortensen. Her early life was full of struggles as her mother suffered from mental illness, forcing Marilyn to grow up in foster homes and orphanages. In the 1940s, she started modeling and soon stepped into the film industry. Her natural beauty and charming personality made her one of Hollywood's most famous actresses. Movies like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Some Like It Hot, and The 7-Year Itch turned her into a superstar. She wasn't just an actress, she became a symbol of beauty, glamour, and elegance. Despite her fame, Marilyn's personal life was troubled. She married 3 times, including to baseball player Joe DiMaggio and playwright Arthur Miller, but none of these marriages lasted. She struggled with depression, loneliness, and addiction to sleeping pills. On August 5, 1962, Marilyn Monroe was found dead in her bedroom. Her death was officially ruled as suicide, but it remains a mystery to this day. Many believe it was not suicide but murder, especially due to her alleged relationships with President John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert Kennedy. Various conspiracy theories suggest she was silenced for knowing too much. Despite her tragic end, Marilyn Monroe remains a legend. Her mesmerizing smile, innocence, and heartbreaking life story make her an icon who continues to inspire generations. Todd Browning. Todd Browning was born on July 12, 1880, in Louisville, Kentucky. His real name was Charles Albert Browning Jr. From a young age, he was fascinated by the world of circuses and vaudeville, which later influenced his filmmaking. In the early 1900s, Browning worked as a circus performer, magician, and vaudeville actor before stepping into the film industry. He started as an actor, but soon shifted to directing silent films in the 1910s. His collaboration with actor Lon Chaney made him famous, especially for films like The Unholy Three, 1925, and The Unknown, 1927. Browning gained legendary status with the horror genre, directing Dracula, 1931, starring Bela Lugosi, which became one of the most iconic horror films of all time. However, his most controversial work was Freaks, 1932, a film about circus performers that shocked audiences and was banned in many places. The movie was ahead of its time, and while it initially ruined his career, it later became a cult classic. After Freaks, Browning directed a few more films, but gradually faded from Hollywood. He retired in the early 1940s and lived a reclusive life until his death on October 6, 1962. Today, Todd Browning is remembered as a pioneer of horror cinema, a director who dared to challenge norms and create films that still haunt audiences. His influence on the horror genre remains immortal. Lucille Ball. Lucille Ball was born on August 6, 1911, in Jamestown, New York. From a young age, she had a passion for performing and moved to Hollywood in the 1930s to pursue acting. She started as a model and appeared in small film roles, earning the nickname Queen of the B-movies. Her real breakthrough came in 1951 with the sitcom I Love Lucy, which she starred in alongside her husband Desi Arnaz. The show was a massive hit, making her the most famous female comedian in America. Lucy's hilarious expressions, perfect comic timing, and fearless physical comedy won millions of hearts. The show also revolutionized television by introducing live audience recordings and multi-camera setups. Beyond acting, Lucille was a trailblazer in Hollywood. She became the first woman to own a major production studio, Desilu Productions, which later produced legendary shows like Star Trek and Mission Impossible. Her personal life had its ups and downs. She and Desi Arnaz divorced in 1960, but she continued her success with shows like The Lucy Show and Here's Lucy. She remained a beloved TV icon for decades. Lucille Ball passed away on April 26, 1989, but her legacy as the greatest female comedian in television history lives on. She paved the way for women in comedy and remains an eternal inspiration for generations of entertainers. Cary Grant. Cary Grant was born on January 18, 1904, in Bristol, England, as Archibald Alexander Leach. His early life was filled with hardships. His mother was placed in a mental institution when he was young, and he grew up believing she was dead. At 16, he ran away to join a traveling theater group, which eventually led him to America. In the 1930s, Grant signed with Hollywood studios and quickly became known for his charming personality, suave looks, and impeccable comic timing. His breakthrough came with films like Bringing Up Baby, 1938, and The Philadelphia Story, 1940. He mastered both comedy and romance, making him one of Hollywood's biggest leading men. Grant's collaboration with Alfred Hitchcock in thrillers like Notorious, 1946, To Catch a Thief, 1955, and North by Northwest, 1959, further cemented his status as a cinematic icon. His on-screen presence was effortless, and he became known as the definition of elegance and sophistication. Despite his perfect image, his personal life was complicated. He married 5 times, but his relationships often struggled. Later in life, he found happiness with his 5th wife, Barbara Harris, and became a devoted father. In 1966, Grant retired from acting, leaving behind a legacy of timeless performances. He passed away on November 29, 1986, but remains one of the greatest actors of all time, forever remembered for his wit, charm, and style. Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford was born on March 23, 1904, as Lucille Fay LeSueur in Texas. She had a tough childhood, working odd jobs before entering show business. In the 1920s, she started as a dancer in silent films, but her beauty and determination helped her transition into a major Hollywood star during the golden age of cinema. By the 1930s, Crawford became one of MGM's biggest leading ladies, known for her strong-willed characters in films like Grand Hotel, 1932, and The Women, 1939. Her career continued into the 1940s, with her Oscar-winning performance in Mildred Pierce, 1945, solidifying her as a dramatic powerhouse. Joan was known for her perfectionism, fierce work ethic, and glamorous image, but her personal life was often turbulent. She married 4 times, including to Pepsi-Cola executive Alfred Steele, and adopted several children, including Christina Crawford, who later wrote the shocking memoir Mommy Dearest, accusing Joan of being an abusive mother. As she aged, Hollywood roles declined, but she made a thrilling comeback with the horror classic Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, 1962, alongside her rival Bette Davis. Their off-screen feud became legendary in Hollywood history. Joan Crawford retired in the 1970s and passed away on May 10, 1977. Despite controversies, she remains one of Hollywood's greatest stars, remembered for her intensity, elegance, and powerful performances. Clark Gable. Clark Gable was born on February 1, 1901, in Ohio, USA. His early life was challenging. His mother died when he was a baby, and he struggled financially before finding his way into acting. In the 1920s, he worked in theater before landing roles in silent films, eventually becoming a Hollywood sensation in the 1930s. Gable's breakthrough came with It Happened One Night, 1934, which won him an Academy Award for Best Actor. He became one of Hollywood's biggest stars, known for his charismatic screen presence, rugged charm, and confident personality. His most famous role came in Gone with the Wind, 1939, where he played Rhett Butler, delivering the legendary line, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." During World War II, Gable joined the U.S. Army Air Corps, showing his real-life bravery. After the war, he continued making hit films, including Magambo, 1953, and The Misfits, 1961, which was his final film. Gable had a turbulent personal life, marrying 5 times. His greatest love was actress Carole Lombard, but their love story ended tragically when she died in a plane crash in 1942. On November 16, 1960, Clark Gable passed away from a heart attack, just before the birth of his only son. He remains one of Hollywood's greatest leading men, forever remembered as the King of Hollywood. Marlene Dietrich. Marlene Dietrich was born on December 27, 1901, in Berlin, Germany. She started her career in theater and silent films in the 1920s, but her breakthrough came in 1930 with the film The Blue Angel, where she played the seductive nightclub singer Lola Lola. Her mesmerizing beauty, deep voice, and mysterious aura made her an instant star. After her success in Germany, Dietrich moved to Hollywood, where she became one of the most glamorous actresses of the 1930s and 1940s. She starred in legendary films like Morocco, 1930, Shanghai Express, 1932, and Destry Rides Again, 1939. Her signature look, smoky eyes, tailored suits, and bold femininity made her a fashion and style icon. Dietrich was also known for her strong personality and political activism. She was openly anti-Nazi and rejected Adolf Hitler's offer to return to Germany as a propaganda star. Instead, she became a U.S. citizen in 1939 and entertained Allied troops during World War II, earning medals for her contributions. Her film career slowed in the 1950s, but she reinvented herself as a cabaret singer, performing worldwide until the 1970s. She spent the final years of her life in seclusion in Paris, where she passed away on May 6, 1992. Marlene Dietrich remains a legend, known for her sultry voice, androgynous style, and fearless attitude, forever remembered as one of Hollywood's most enigmatic and iconic stars. Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart was born on December 25, 1899, in New York City. He came from a well-off family, but instead of following a traditional career, he joined the U.S. Navy during World War I. After the war, he pursued acting, starting with Broadway before moving to Hollywood in the 1930s. At first, Bogart was typecast as a gangster in films like The Petrified Forest, 1936, and Dead End, 1937, but his breakthrough came in 1941 with High Sierra and The Maltese Falcon, where he defined the classic film noir anti-hero. However, his most legendary role came in Casablanca, 1942, where he played Rick Blaine, delivering timeless lines like, "Here's looking at you, kid." Bogart became one of Hollywood's biggest stars, known for his tough, cynical, yet romantic persona. He won an Academy Award for The African Queen, 1951, and starred in other classics like The Big Sleep, 1946, and Treasure of the Sierra Madre, 1948. His personal life was just as famous. After multiple failed marriages, he found true love with actress Lauren Bacall, whom he married in 1945. Their chemistry, both on and off screen, became iconic. Bogart passed away on January 14, 1957, from esophageal cancer. Even today, he remains one of the greatest actors of all time, forever remembered as Hollywood's ultimate tough guy with a heart of gold. Greta Garbo. Greta Garbo was born on September 18, 1905, in Stockholm, Sweden, as Greta Lovisa Gustafsson. She grew up in poverty, but her beauty and talent led her to study acting at Sweden's Royal Dramatic Theatre. She was discovered by director Moritz Stiller, who brought her to Hollywood in the 1920s. Garbo quickly became a silent film star, known for her mystique, deep voice, and expressive eyes. Her films like Flesh and the Devil, 1926, and A Woman of Affairs, 1928, made her one of Hollywood's most sought-after actresses. With the arrival of talking films, many silent stars faded, but Garbo thrived. Her first sound film, Anna Christie, 1930, was a huge success with the tagline Garbo Talks. Throughout the 1930s, she became known for her intense, dramatic performances in films like Grand Hotel, 1932, Queen Christina, 1933, Camille, 1936, and Ninotchka, 1939. She was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, but never won. Despite her success, Garbo was intensely private and hated the Hollywood spotlight. In 1941, at just 35 years old, she suddenly retired from acting and lived a reclusive life in New York City for the rest of her years, refusing interviews and avoiding publicity. She passed away on April 15, 1990, but remains a legendary figure, remembered for her beauty, elegance, and mysterious aura. Even today, Greta Garbo is celebrated as one of the greatest and most elusive stars in Hollywood history. James Cagney. James Cagney was born on July 17, 1899, in New York City. Raised in a working-class family, he developed a love for dancing and performing at a young age. He started in vaudeville before transitioning to Broadway and, eventually, Hollywood in the 1930s. Cagney became famous for his tough guy roles, especially as gangsters in classic crime films. His breakthrough came with The Public Enemy, 1931, where he played a ruthless gangster and famously smashed a grapefruit in his co-star's face. This role established him as Hollywood's top gangster star. Though best known for crime dramas like Angels with Dirty Faces, 1938, and White Heat, 1949, where he delivered the legendary line, "Top of the World, Ma." Cagney was also an incredible dancer. He won an Academy Award for Best Actor for Yankee Doodle Dandy, 1942, proving his versatility in musicals. Despite his tough on-screen persona, Cagney was known as a gentle and private man in real life. He retired from acting in the 1960s, only returning for a final film, Ragtime, 1981. James Cagney passed away on March 30, 1986, but remains one of Hollywood's greatest actors, remembered for his electrifying energy, sharp dialogue delivery, and iconic gangster roles.